So what is your definition of gentrification?
I would define gentrification as the systematic process of uprooting a person, a family, a community from their land or place, physical space, in service of more capitalist measures.
I think I see gentrification, the definition is people coming in, like tearing down homes and displacing all the families to build like bigger houses that are more expensive that the people that used to live here cannot afford.
My definition of gentrification is like a new modern racism.
White people making white systems so that black and brown people have to live in a certain part of the city, and then rich white people coming back years later and then buying up vacant lots or properties, raising the prices, and then the only place that black and brown people could make community, make businesses, is now being like ravaged by people who have way more power and more money than them. And it's displacement, and it's basically like neo-colonizing.
Wealthier people moving into like poorer areas, and like that increases the prices of like that area and its value, and then that would mean that the people who live there would be forced to like move out because they can't afford it.
When did you first see or hear about gentrification?
I first saw it when like Columbia City like started having all these new apartment complexes being built.
When I lived in Texas, the year that it was there, I saw a building go from like concrete pilings, like up to the roof, tall, to almost complete. And I think I saw like the trees were like nature, sort of a human customized nature. By that I mean some like farm like something, and close by, but like it's just cut off abruptly, and like the trees seem like they had grown,
So like
and then like a chunk of the forest just disappeared.
after the light rail was made, there were a lot of houses around being built, these townhomes that were super expensive. It used to be like a whole forest. Like when I looked out the window, I used to see a forest with like I could see like little bunnies and like little birds just hanging around there. But then after like a few years later, some crane just started coming in and just like tearing down the place. And then after like a few months, it was like after summer, I saw nothing but like gravel and like rocks.
I was about 22, and I was going into a master's degree program, and so I was moving to New York City, leaving Missouri, moving to New York City, and the place that I moved into was a newly developed area. So they had like my building was brand new. It wasn't even open when I lived there. And so and then coming to learn about what it was before it was that I saw it, I knew that gentrification was happening. I didn't know the word for it, but folks would just tell me, oh yeah, this place used to be this, and it used to be like this, you know? And so I kind of just understood it as like this drastic change that happens. Then I think I learned the word gentrification only when I moved to Seattle.
I think the first time that I got to see like the actual impact of gentrification was in San Francisco. San Francisco and Oakland was like, oh, this is the word gentrification I hear about. Like where you used to go to these neighborhoods where there was like a lot of black folks, and then go like 5 years later and be like, yo, where's the black people? And it was like kind of like not a ghost town, but it was like as if they disappeared, you know, and then replaced with like a whole lot of like younger white folks. So, and then years later, like 10 years later, that started happening here in Seattle, like rapidly.
So, how are you affected by gentrification? Like the changes around you, how does it affect you, like your friends or the community around you?
I'm a member of this community, but I'm also a business owner. So as a community person, it affects me in the way that, like I say, of course, the taxes, like if we're going to talk about it economically, the taxes we're paying more, but also like my community has changed a lot. There's been a lot of families and friends that I knew that they're no longer in this neighborhood, that they were displaced from this neighborhood because they couldn't afford to stay here any longer. So I got to see a lot of like families families and friends there that they were moved from beginning on in the past 15 years. As a business, unfortunately and fortunately for me, has been like my business have been thriving, but also like not only that doesn't has to do with gentrification. Sort of has to do with gentrification, but it has to do with like the support of my black and brown folks coming to our business to support my business. So I don't know if that has to do with gentrification, if my business been very nice and thriving, or if it has to do with my community who are supporting us for being a black, brown business.
My rent has been, they give us a month notice, but they'll raise my rent by 100. And then like 2 years ago, they raised it 100, and you get, like usually you get till the 5th to pay rent, and they scaled that back to the 3rd and raised the rent by like 100 in the same month. And my mentor recently moved back in April, and it's impossible for him to find housing. He's gonna have to leave Seattle, even though he was planning to stay here. So it's rough all around.
The areas that we live in and like I live in are changing, and the people that I knew and like my neighborhood like have left, and like things are getting more expensive and harder to pay for.
I think I'm not directly affected yet that I know of, but I don't like seeing other people get hurt, like emotionally, physically, and I also don't like people that I know going away because of some guy who just wants to make himself rich.
Do you have any final thoughts about this whole thing?
I think I'm gonna miss like the more relaxed like it's Beacon Hill seems way more relaxed than say Capitol Hill, because like all those tall buildings and like they're pretty uniform isn't very relaxed.
The charming that the neighborhood used to have, there used to be a lot of like beautiful like Victorian homes or like a lot of homes. So like hopefully that feeling of like, because even though this is a neighborhood, just like any other neighborhood, like there's very few neighborhoods that feel like community, and this neighborhood felt for me like, I've been here since 1994, so it has felt like a community for me for a long, long, long time. And obviously, yeah, like you make your neighborhood into a community, so you make this community yours, even though it's a neighborhood. But I'm sad if my neighborhood turns into, I mean, if my community turns into just another neighborhood. So that's what I'm afraid to, that my kids won't see a community. They'll see just another neighborhood with a lot of buildings. So for me, hopefully, they don't. If you torn down one home where like a family of like 3 people used to live, if you're gonna tear down a house, but then you're gonna like build like maybe 5 to 6 houses, if you're bringing more families of color, then I don't care about the building. Like, tear down that old building as long as you bring in new buildings with more space or even little space, but bring in like families.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna miss this little spot. Yeah, a lot of things, and I'm gonna miss the community. I think that it brings to the space, right? And so, you guys are here, Yehan is here, and so it's like a hub for everybody. And so I'm not sure what that's gonna look like. Like, where will people go? To do all the things that they want to do, because sometimes the station isn't conducive to all types of things. So, like, for example, the interview process, we wouldn't be able to do it at the station because it's kind of loud and more businessy. But here it's like quiet and tucked away. It's kind of nice.
Okay.
As long as the people are still here, the community, I believe that it's okay, just as long as other families aren't being displaced and the neighborhood is still what it is.
I think there's enough resources and space and money for the people who live here to stay here and not be stressed about living here, and for more people to come in. And I just wish the city cared about the people who make the city what it is.